November 29th, 1972. That was the date that Pong released. People held this as the first video game, but the actual first video game was similar to Pong, but it was different. It's called Tennis for Two, and Tennis for Two was released October 18th, 1958. Now, this isn't scripted, and why do I know these dates? Because I love video games. One of the biggest monopolies on video games was Nintendo, and it wasn't Nintendo had a monopoly on video games. Nintendo was it. It was just Nintendo. That's it. There was no other gaming company. You just had Nintendo and you dealt with it because that's the hand you were dealt and that's what you had to deal with. If you didn't play Nintendo games, you didn't exist. Why am I bringing this up? Why am I talking about Nintendo? Nintendo was the foundation for gamers. Back in the day, people didn't respect gamers. Nobody liked gamers. Gamers were seen as a subculture of humanity. They were seen as a different species, different race entirely of people, primarily dominated by Poindexters. Poindexters are people that play Elder Scrolls back in the day, Diablo back in the day, and games such as Dungeons and Dragons. Dungeons and Dragons has been around for a minute. People that wanted to escape reality because the advent of reality had bullied them to a deep degree. Reality was destroying them. Girls wouldn't talk to them, so they find online girls, 2D models, 1D models, in order to fulfill those desires and fantasies. And they would become really good artists and make Rule 34. They would do many different things in order to escape reality, so they didn't have to deal with the social pressures. And they were amazing at it. Some of them learned how to code, some of them learned how to do taxes, and those were the people in movies you would see that looked a bit like the people behind me on the screen. And what happened back in the day, they play games like Pokemon. Pokemon was an amazing advent of a game. It was the first true anime that people got to experience. Now, Pokemon came first and foremost with the video games, then later everything else came. Pocket monsters. And this was seen as demonic by a bunch of churches. Churches would try to destroy this and say, this is demonic. I remember watching this broadcast when I was younger of how they showed how demonic Pokemon was and how evil it was and how Christians in the church was trying to get this out of the systems because they didn't understand it. This always happens in the public diaspora where people would get upset about things they didn't understand. And because of this created resentment for nerd culture. A lot of people still to this day hold that same sentiment and resentment of the nerd culture. This was a big issue. You shouldn't have this deep resentment towards something you don't understand. This will cause hate to begate hate, a forest fire eating within itself, an Ouroboros or a snake, one might say. This was evil. This was evil, and I sympathize with those Pokemon gamers back in the day. Everything changed when the first game that allowed for blood and gore to be released to where they created the ESRB rating. That was Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat comes out, everybody goes crazy. Everybody loses their mind. Everybody says, oh my goodness, this is vicious, this is brutal. So they made the ESRB, the rating system you see at the video game. The reason you couldn't get Grand Theft Auto when you went to GameStop growing up with your mom, that's the very same reason. Games caused such a big controversy at this point. And games weren't seen as this big thing. Mortal Kombat started it, and then it was Grand Theft Auto. Grand Theft Auto further pushed the agenda of it by making new ratings for certain games. This was a big, disgusting issue. Now, you're probably thinking to yourself, Mortal Kombat didn't create the ESRB, and I may be wrong about that because I didn't do any research, but I'm 100% positive about this one thing because this is my residual knowledge about video games. You can look it up too. This is very important. And you can probably see in the back of my screen the correction of what I'm doing. But this started the advent of everything. Grand Theft Auto, Call of Duty, that transitioned the gamers that were playing the nerd games, the Dungeons and Dragons, the Elder Scrolls, all those games, they were getting transitioned. The Space Marines, Warhammers, the figurine painters, the Pokemon players, the people that were escaping reality, to the people that had ultra violence within their soul. However, the entirety of this entire time, who was dominating this? Primarily angry white men. Now you would see black gamers from time to time, they would primarily stick to fighting games, Street Fighter and things of the like. Maybe some Asian players would play Tekken, such as people in Korea getting overly excited about Tekken. However, this was not the main thing. The main thing was Call of Duty, the games that represented shooting and violence and guns. And when you're an angry, testosterone-filled, energy-drinking young male, a teenage male playing games such as Call of Duty, you get angry. You get upset. the Xbox 360 days, the PS3 days, and the fact that you can't see each other's faces, you call each other whatever you want to. As a matter of fact, let's talk about my favorite clip. Behind me, as you can see now, is PewDiePie. Now, you guys can't hear PewDiePie at the current moment, because if I were to say what he said, this video will be demonetized. Big controversy where he said effing Nigger. That's what he said. I spelled it out so you can know what I said. And he said that. And everybody blew a gasket. Everybody was super upset. They said, how could he say that? He's a big YouTuber. How could he say that? This is what I want to talk about in today's video. This is very important to me. This is the most important thing that I've ever talked about, I think. I never cared that PewDiePie said this word. This was nostalgic for me, actually. This reminded me of Halo 2 lobbies. This reminded me of Halo Reach. This reminded me of Call of Duty Black Ops at Nuketown. Because when I won, when I went 14-0, when I went 23-0, when I was destroying and annihilating people, when I was prestiging and ranking up and making my clan emblems, this is what I expected to hear. This exact noise. Calling me the worst thing somebody could possibly think of, not even knowing my race. Because online, if you hear my voice, I don't sound black. Oh no, you can't really sound black, but people have a certain idea of my vernacular and my vocabulary. They assume that I would sound as if I was an African American. They assume my cuz was cracking cuz, you know what I'm saying? Switching to my black sin, as they call it, a code switch, one mind you, when it's really just AAVE, or perhaps the situation in an area that I grew up in. That's not the entirety of what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is being called a slur online is synonymous with gaming culture in itself. That is how gaming culture has been for eons and decades. Gaming culture has been many parts of the same thing. Being called slurs. If you weren't called a slur online when you were playing a video game, if you weren't received a death threat or saying somebody was going to sleep with your mother, I'm not sure if you truly grew up in video games. I don't know. I don't know if I can trust you. I don't know if I'm inviting you to dinner with my family and my friends. I have no idea if I'm going to do that today with you. But if you were in those lobbies playing Call of Duty, even Overwatch, and getting called slurs, playing League of Legends, getting banned for actual disruptive content and hateful speech, if you don't have one hateful speech nonsense situation or story, what's wrong with you? This was what many consider the greatest era of gaming. Growing up, no responsibilities, no school, decent internet, coming home playing Call of Duty, playing these video games where they had beautiful women and you were the hero. All these sexy women you could play as. All these big, delicious Caucasian breasts on screen. Lara Croft was a great example. Lara Croft and Tomb Raider, that was an amazing thing. When they saw those polygon breasts, they went bananas. They went cray-cray. And outside of Lara Croft being a part of it, we had another phenomenon with the entire aspect of it. Ivy from Soul Calibur, Taki from Soul Calibur. Outside of Ivy and Taki from Soul Calibur, we have Mai Shiranui. Mai Shiranui. And what is the common trait amongst these? These women were beautiful. They were voluptuous. They were bouncing around. And that is what it was, because in the real reality of the world, women wouldn't give them attention. Even the hardcore Call of Duty players, women wouldn't give them attention. They wanted to see the 3D or 2D models bouncing around. And that's what they were used to. This is what happened. It wasn't until hyper-realistic graphics where things got a bit wonky. When they started making women look more like they are in real life, that's when things got angry. When they started to actually include other players, because back in the day, it was just white men. That was it. That's the only recognized group in gaming. That was it. Go to Spike TV. Go to Mansers. That was the only recognized group. People that watch Mansers. People that watch shows of that variety. 1,000 Ways to Die. All this nonsense. All these club blowers. All this Backstreet Boy-esque people. That was the culture of gaming back then. That's what it was. People that played Madden or 2K or NBA Streets Volume 2 for that matter. That is what it was. However, we grew up and more people existed and they discovered about video games, because back in the day there was violence games, anime games with the advent of Final Fantasy VII to cater to the nerds, Tifa and all these other characters, and people excited to be these big sword wielding anime protagonists, Kingdom Hearts. And that's what caused anime to get popular, Final Fantasy VII, that created the dubbing epidemic when everybody wanted to dub anime and dub JRPGs. That's the beauty of it. That's why we got Rowdy out of stories and things of that variety. That's the important aspect of that. However, what happened after that? What happened is you'd watch a movie back in the day and you'd see the tropes. Oh, women don't play video games. Women don't do this. Women don't do that. Women, if you're a girl, you wouldn't understand video games. Let me explain this. Let me do that. And this became this hate that women would never understand nerds. And they don't play video games. And they don't enjoy it. And they don't do this. And they don't do that. When in reality, women have been playing games such as Echo the Dolphin. Women have been playing games like Clay Fighter. Women have been enjoying Killer Instinct, but they were a small minority. And if you were a girl that enjoyed video games, they assumed you were lying. They assumed you were trying to get in their head. And so there was a divot between two separate kinds of gamers. There was the white men that played video games, including the Pokemon and the Call of Duty and those games. Then there was the Animal Crossing players, the relaxer games. Relaxer games such as Stardew Valley. Relaxer games such as Minecraft. And many people enjoy Minecraft, but that was a relaxer game. A game you had to turn off your brain, and it wasn't real, intense, destructive gaming. No fighting games. No, women are bad at fighting games. A girl can't play Dark Souls. Dark Souls is my game. That's a man's game. It's difficult. It's gory. It's violent. And it created this hate for women because they would never understand what it was like to be a gamer because they never played the hardcore violent games. Of course, that was until one game changed the entire shifting of the world. What is a woman's favorite game according to the online space? A woman's favorite game according to the online space that is close enough to violence, and it's going to surprise you a little bit, is Fortnite. When back in the day I had friends that are women that are playing League of Legends and Overwatch, Fortnite is the most easily accessible game you can get into if you were a woman. Did you know back in the day Overwatch cost money? That's right. I know you're so used to free to play, you forgot that it cost money back in the day. Overwatch cost money, so you couldn't easily access it. Fortnite, however, was free. It's a game you could just jump in. Fortnite was the game that women got into immediately because it was free. Now, there are women that play Animal Crossing and didn't like the violence, but a lot of girls got really good at it. And there were some girls that played Tekken, and if you look at the top girl players of video games in the FGC or video game combatants, you won't see many women because it's a male-dominated space. And also, women aren't taken too kind to that. They're not. They're not accepted as easily as other combatants within the entirety of the online space within video games because they're seen as fake gamers. That's not a real thing. People don't want to see real women play video games because it's not what they grew up. That's not Lara Croft. That's not Lilith from Borderlands 2. That's not Mai Shiranui. That's not Ivy from Soul Calibur. These aren't my big, voluptuous hobby knockers fleshlight of women that I have a body pillow of that I can enjoy and annihilate my entire gooner stick down to my downstairs mix-up. This isn't the thing. And because they're so nonsense-brained, you would assume that this is their fault, when it's not. They're a result of society. And I don't mean to be sympathetic to these psychopaths, I really don't. But I'm a gamer too. I know their mindset, I understand why they do it. Do I agree with it? No, I don't agree with it, not at all. But I understand why they do it. And to understand something is more important to me. To understand is how to grasp the situation and the issue inside your brain. That matters to me. So when you see all these grifters online complaining that it's a DEI chin when it's a black woman on the screen as a main character, that never was the case because these gamers want old games back. They want Japanese women. They want women with big knockers and milkers and gonads and gooper gomps flapping around the screen. That's what they want. They don't care about inclusion. Yes, D&D has been inclusive with many different races, and all these fantasy games have been that. But these same nerds never had that. That was outside of reality. They don't want reality to be a part of their video games. They don't want that. They hate that. It's their least favorite thing. And that's why gamers, true gamers as they call them, ruin video games. The Asmongold's and those audience people, the people that look like the people portrayed behind me on screen, have ruined gaming. And that's okay. Because I understand why they ruin gaming. I understand why they think video gaming is dying. And video gaming has never been as great as it is now. There's a video game for everybody. Back in the day, you could only play a few video games. There was the Call of Duty. There was Grand Theft Auto. There was a few games, and it was all hyper violent. However, if you want to play a relaxing simulator where you power wash, I want you to play that. I want you to look at it. Behind me right now is Power Wash Simulator gameplay. I enjoy this game so much. I played this game for nigh 3 hours one day, just washing things, the relaxing nature of it. And back in the day, you couldn't even envision a game as this. This would be a mini game, maybe in a random indie game that you might play on accident. You might pick it up in the PS2 bargain bin. But a game like this behind me, a game where you enjoy and witness the beauty of this, just washing and enjoying your time and not having a stressful day, just to feel the allure of cleanness when you don't have your house clean. When you're looking around and seeing your laundry that isn't done, they can make a laundry simulator. They make an organizing simulator. They can make any simulator. There's a game where you play in a fast food restaurant, and there's many games to that, such as that. There's Overcooked, there's Plate Up, and all these games where you play as a different variety of things. I enjoy them deeply. They're my favorite thing. However, back in the day, we didn't have this. And video games are becoming more accepted. They're becoming a monopoly. They're becoming the biggest thing that ever exists on the planet. And people are scared. Oh, they're scared. They don't want that to be the reality. They don't want their favorite games to be more. And despite the fact that Call of Duty releases the same game every year, and 2K releases the same game every year, and Madden releases the same game every year, and WWE releases the same game every year, that's a loyal fan base. Same with Pokemon. All these games, these legacy games that I talked about earlier, those are legacy games. And you may be able to point out all the flaws. Same way you could point out all the flaws in Naruto, you could point out all the flaws in Dragon Ball Z. You could say all the bad things about it. You could explain to the grifters why it's bad, that they're not being inclusive, and that there's more gamers, but you're not the minority. They were. They felt like they were the minority back in the day. And they hate that. And now they have a voice. Now, the very industry that they helped build, the very industry that they were a part of, the very industry that they themselves were ground zero for, when they were playing Call of Duty, building the game up, and you guys get to enjoy the fruits of their labor, they feel entitled to death. And it's stupid. Obviously, things grow and obviously things change, but they feel entitled because guess what happened? The times grew and they didn't. The world grew and they didn't. And so they're stuck, suckling on the teat of what once was, explaining how beautiful things used to be. How things used to be. And complaining about Marvel Rivals. And complaining about Storm, how Storm is too black. Complaining about how there's pronouns in video games, and pronouns is a grammar rule. He, she, that's pronouns. Regular. Look at them over there. They went to the store. They are going to eat a popsicle. That's a singular they. They are going to eat a popsicle. Singular they. One thing. They are going to the store. Singular they. However, when you say that, when you say these words, that agitates them. When you call Vegeta and say, oh, Vegeta, well, they enjoy. Oh, hold up a second. Vegeta's a he. Use he. Oh, now you care about pronouns. Duke Nukem. Duke Nukem, well, the game that they're in. Oh, hold up a second. There. Now you're upset. Now you're angry. And that's understandable. You're fighting fire with fire. You're fighting against fighting. You want to be as angry as they are because you feel like you were the minority because you were bullied back in the day. You were ridiculed. You were told being a gamer sucks. You were told that you should get a real job. You were told that you can't make a career out of this. And now the people that are making a career out of this, and Demian TV, who's a psychopath, Asmongold, who's a bad person, all these things. All these people that are angry and very vocal about it. And they have this community of people that they can rally behind because anger sells and hate sells. And they get behind it. They get behind this anger. I understand. I understand. And I get it. I really do. I'm not against you. I'm not with you either. I just understand you. That's it. I know what it's like. I know what it's like to have your hobbies be used against you and everybody else eventually get into your hobbies because you were gatekeeping, and now your special little thing is no longer that special anymore, is it? That special little thing is no longer special, so you can't claim it. And now you feel sad because your special little thing is gone. I know. And I want to tell you something. You've ruined gaming. And it's your fault. I was going through, and behind me you can see the reviews. You can slow down and read them if you want to. I was going through, and I saw this woke game detector. And the fact that even if this is satire, it doesn't matter if it's satire. It doesn't. The dedication and effort to actually call these games out for having small core things within them, to see the revamped games actually try to be more inclusive and to be angry with it and to say to not play these games as if you're doing some revolution to bring back gaming, to make it all horny, to make it provocative, to make it sexual, to make it that, is so strange. You are making gaming a not safe space. You are destroying it for everybody. You are making it cater to only you again because you only want it to be you. This is not anything less than insane misogyny, deep racism, transphobia, and homophobia being ridiculed and pushed out within your own disgusting and inane beliefs behind the guise of being correct and how it used to be, and more so, your deeply Christian values don't apply to everything in the real world because the world is bigger than you. And it sucks to hear that. And you won't listen. And you don't care to listen. And this video isn't for the people that are against you. It's for you. This video is for you. Gamers. True gamers. Gamers that don't play Animal Crossing. Gamers that play Call of Duty. Gamers that want the things back in the day. Gamers that are upset that Ellie from The Last of Us is not sexy anymore. Despite the fact that's a little girl. And I don't know why you're concerned why she's not sexy anymore. That's a little bit concerning. Gamers that complain about Midna from Twilight Princess, but at the same time, the lolly form of Midna. Complain about that. Complain that she's not as cute as anymore as she used to be. This is for you guys. This is for you guys that hate when they see black skin on the screen, and the instant they see black skin on the screen, they say, oh, DEI. I know they're going to talk about how she is black. I hate that. When they're trying to bring reality into video games, you get upset because you use it as an escape of reality, and that's real. I get it. Reality hasn't been kind to you. Reality sucks. You hate every second of it. You hate the fact that you exist within a reality that hates you and wants to tear you apart. I get it. I really do. However, and I say this with every ounce of love in my soul, there's no world in which the world will change for you just because you're angry. It's not happening. It's not happening. Even if you're the angriest person on the planet, you're not the Incredible Hulk. Anger can be used in a healthy way. That's why we have people like the Incredible Hulk. It can be used in a healthy way. But the Incredible Hulk is a hero. And your anger will not make you a hero despite the fact that you want it to. It won't. It'll make you hated and ridiculed and locked away, and you will lose this oncoming battle because you're on the wrong side of history and you're too stupid and blinded by the nonsense within your skull to actually understand why. You're too emotional, despite the fact that you say we're too emotional. You're too emotional now because you're letting your emotions dictate your logical brain by everything has to get further and progress. Gaming has come so far and you don't want to be a part of it anymore because for some reason you think things were better back in the day. If we keep going backwards, we will never go forward. Stop living in nostalgia. Stop buying remakes and remasters because it makes you feel like the old games are there. Stop doing that. You are losing a dying battle. You are destroying what you once were. You were once the revolution. You were once the tide against everything. You were the coming storm. You were the storm that is approaching. You were that. And now you've lost. You've lost. You've lost everything. You just want to create arguments for the sake of creating arguments. And gamers, my proud people, you have ruined gaming forever. And let's fix it together. I just want to come together as gamers. Can we do that, please?